there. I'm your host, Leslie Randolph. I'm a self-confidence coach for teenage girls and the self-confidence coach you wish you had as a teen. Honestly, I'm the self-confidence coach I wish I had as a teen because I know I could have saved myself and my mother a whole lot of heartache if I'd only known then what I know now. I hope to save you some of that suffering by sharing the lessons I learned late in life right here on Why Didn't They Tell Us? Welcome to the show.
Hey, happy people. Welcome back to Why Didn't They Tell Us? And welcome to the last episode of 2025. Woo! What a year it's been. So one of my favorite year-end rituals is to reflect on the year prior, to think about the lessons learned, the goals achieved, the mistakes made, and sometimes the lessons learned from those mistakes made. I think of this as data gathering to help me plan for the year ahead, and also an opportunity to check in with my values and priorities for the season of life I'm in right now and where I want to be. So I thought to wrap up the year, I would bring this ritual over to the podcast and look back at some of my favorite moments from 2025. Now, I'm like a proud mama. Choosing my favorite episodes is very hard. But what I do know is that I always love being joined on the mic by guests who bring a new lens and a fresh perspective and words of wisdom that I wouldn't have alone. And I'm so lucky to have had so many incredible guests join me this year. And so what you're about to hear is a curated selection of clips from those incredible guests that might not focus explicitly on self-confidence, but who offer powerful insights to help us show up as more confident moms and in turn, raise more confident girls. So the first episode is not only a favorite, but also one of my favorite people, Dr. Lisa Klein from Turning Teen. In this episode, Dr. Lisa assures us that those tween years feel hard because they are hard, especially when you consider that in addition to all the physical changes that come with puberty, hello, hormones, our tweens' brains are still very much a construction zone. This clip is such a helpful reminder to lead with patience, perspective, and a whole lot of grace for our kids and ourselves. Let's listen.
Keep them alive till 25 is the motto, the joke. I think it's so important for parents to realize, not when we're just talking about physical changes, which happen so early, right? So puberty for females can start at age 8, often does. Males' puberty tends to happen a little after the females, age 10 plus. Some of them don't even hit it till high school, whereas a lot of the females are done with puberty and getting their period by high school. So the timing of the conversation may differ based on who's living in your house and growing up, who they're friends with and growing up with. But it's so, important to think about that mind body, the mind construction, as you say, all those changes that they don't have great executive function. Their emotional centers are huge, right? Leslie and I, we could talk about their amygdala, their emotional center. We like to talk about how their brain develops from the inside out. Okay, so your emotional centers are huge and big when you're a teenager. It's why we don't make the best decisions and we make them based on emotion a lot. And then their executive function center at the outside and the front of their brain, it's developing back to front, is the last to come online and join Wi-Fi. Their Wi-Fi connection is not great despite all their time on Wi-Fi. So we need to definitely remember who our audience is and how they're going to make mistakes. They're going to mess up. They're not going to remember everything we said. And their mind and body are all in turmoil and all being built and wired. And we need to be patient, which is not easy.
No. Sometimes one of the mom mantras that I repeat back to myself, and I offer this to any listener, is like how incredibly age appropriate this is. To just remind myself that, of course, as you said, they're making mistakes. They're figuring it out. They are testing boundaries. Now, as a mom, I want to kind of flip my lid. But as, as a mom that's trying very hard to be intentional, I'm like, oh, this is so age appropriate. It just gives me that moment to take a breath before I respond to the behavior.
Yes. And give yourself grace. I'm sure you tell your clients and listeners, I fly off the handle. I'm a mom. Like I'm supposed to, right? We are not perfect. Our kids are not perfect. If we can model and agree, hey, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have yelled. I, overreacted, or I want to talk to you about what happened in a different way because I didn't approach it right. That will give your kid the opportunity to say things like that to you one day. Hey, I messed up, but I want to tell you how it happened. I want to redo. I want the chance to ask for forgiveness. We need to role model that mind body piece too.
1000%. And if we think about that mind body connection, a lot of times, because we are all still perfectly imperfect humans figuring it out, we let our emotions, if we don't take that breath, if we don't remind ourselves like, oh, this is so normal, we can respond emotionally, which is such typical teen behavior. It is very impulsive. It is very, heated in the moment. It's like you got that trigger and then you're activated.
Right.
And so I think when we empower our teens, and I love that that's what Turning Teen does, when we empower them with knowledge, it then gives them also that sort of, I called it my mom mantra, that moment of like, oh, of course I'm feeling this way. Of course I have such big emotions.
Now, during those tween and teen years, little matters more than friendships and fitting in, which is why I was so excited to have Nina Badzin, the host of Dear Nina, Conversations About Friendship, on the show this year. Her insights are a powerful reminder that confidence doesn't come from being chosen by the right people or being part of the right group, but it comes from building connection, community, and self-trust. Let's listen together.
I think a huge issue people have at all ages is that they are looking for a belonging into a certain group. They have identified a group, and it can be because what other people think about this group, what they themselves think about this group, but oftentimes that is because what other people think of this group, they've adopted like, oh, this is the group. And we can use the word popular, but it's not always that. But that's sort of a term, at least we used in the 90s, like in 80s growing up. And I don't know if kids say that as much today, but it doesn't matter because it's true for adults too. It's like you get in your head, like, oh, if I were, like you said in your intro, if I were just part of this group, then everything would be great. And I would always have something to do. And I would always feel a sense of belonging. And it is not true. And yet we commit to it generation after generation after generation. We commit to this idea that, oh, there's some magical group that is the gateway to all of my happiness based on, I guess, this decision that within this school setting or camp setting or group setting at tennis, wherever you are, that it has been decided these are the kids or these are the adults I need to be friends with. You couldn't ruin your whole life that way.
100%. And you took us exactly where I wanted to start it, because I can't make it through a coaching session with a teen or a tween. And you're absolutely right. I think it does pertain to us at all ages. I mean, my retirement home story, friend groups, they're very real. And it's like, I want to ask, how did we get here? Like, was this very real when popular was the term? I think today, Nina, the term would be preppy, but I'll ask my daughter. Like, yes. Those are the preppy girls.
You're probably right. Although there's groups at all levels, if you want to use like levels in quotes. By the way, I think groups have always been there. They preceded us and they're never going anywhere because groups are a human survival function. Like, we're not going to be able, it's actually good to lean into that. Not that you have to have a group, because you do not have to have a group to be happy. However, wishing groups away is not going to solve anything because they're not going anywhere. So I think we need to accept that the groups are here to stay, that human beings put themselves in groups for a sense of survival. We actually would not have survived as a species if we didn't have tribes and groups and people who did different functions. And it's like that same mindset has survived. And it's not going to go away. It's just too ingrained in the way we do things. What we need to do is not rest our happiness and confidence and sense of belonging on being in a certain group. I think that, or a group at all. It's a lot to ask other tweens to give your kids confidence. They're not going to do that. That's not their job either. but also to give kids more joy in their week. If the lunch table is not a place of that, activities. And if one activity isn't working, switch activities. Okay, they've been in gymnastics for 6 years and they don't love it. Girls aren't that nice to them. Switch it up, move on. Let's switch to another activity. And another place to look that, again, at least when I was growing up in Highland Park, and I know not all your listeners are from there, it was not often, people didn't participate much. I didn't realize until I got to college that this was a thing. But youth groups, whatever religion you're in, or even if you're not a member of a synagogue or a church or anything, maybe it's time to look to those communities for something different. Your kid's not fitting in at gymnastics. They don't like team sports, let's say. They're not a musician, so that they're not a theater kid. Okay, there's still another bucket to try, and that's a faith community. And it's often overlooked. But what I like about that as an option for kids where the lunch table isn't working out and other activities aren't working out is it gives the kids yet another basket, another bucket. I call them buckets instead of baskets, to dip into, to have positive relationships where there might be, and it's not true at all in every community and in every youth group, but there might be a chance that there is a discussion of relationships and morals that are above us. Like there's a sense that you're not the only person in this world and what it takes to get along with other people.
100%. I have two of those. Your conversations remind me that we come from a mixed house. I'm Jewish, my husband's not, but I made the decision to join a temple because I remember thinking like it was really important for me, and I think this goes across all religions, that my kids have like an anchor, that they have this anchor to come back to that reminds them of who they are, what their values are, what their voice could be when aligned with those values. So that was really why I had joined that community. The word anchor is what stuck with me. And I've also found that, I've found that with some team sports where, I've become very close with the moms and the kids all get along. Girl Scouts, which
yes.
Girl Scouts.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. Exactly. That's a whole nother kind of basket and bucket to put some time into.
It has been such a gift, and it has been, and it was, I'm going to go back to some of the language. It was not the certain group. I didn't come from a Girl Scout. I am not a camper, though I made it through a camping trip last month. I'm so proud of me.
Good
Talk
job.
about confidence. That it has been such a beautiful addition to our buckets, and I'm so thankful for it.
You know what we're hitting on, Leslie? And it's so important. It's different than friendship. But it's just as important for kids' development and adults. We're talking about the difference between friendship and community, and they are different, but they're both essential in your life. Friendship requires you, and it's so, I think it's so important in your life. And it's more of a one-to-one, or even within a group though. But even within a group, there's always one-to-one relationships in a group. Community is happening at a bigger level. And it teaches you leadership skills. It teaches you to take care of something like beyond your family and your friends. And it's happening without you.
Now, knowing how important friendships feel for a teen, it makes sense that friendships ending or being dropped can be shattering for them. And not just for them, but for the moms who love them. And unfortunately, being dropped from the group is far too common. I've seen it in my own world, and I've definitely seen it with my clients. It is no surprise that my episode with Abby Gagerman on tween and teen social struggles was the most downloaded episode of the year. In this conversation, Abby speaks directly to one of the hardest moments we face as parents, when our kids come home heartbroken, and all we want to do is fix it. What she offers here is instead a roadmap for emotional regulation, validation, and helping our kids build resilience that will serve them for a lifetime. Let's listen.
Let's talk about practical advice to mothers whose daughters come home or whose sons come home and say, like, I've been dropped. I don't know what to do. So you've got this kid crying in your kitchen and they're hysterical and you're enraged and you have this urge to like go get on Facebook and be like, talk to your daughters, right? Or call the mother or call the school or pull your kid out of school. And we have this urge to go act. And in that moment that our kid is coming home sad, that moment is so important to get right. And we do so much wrong. Number one is listening to our kid and then spurring into action without waiting, right? That is really, really bad idea. really, really bad. It's a really bad idea.
I'm always like, let's solve this. We can fix this. But it's also, but Abby, you've teed this up so beautifully. It's because I'm so uncomfortable when she's hurting.
Yes.
I want to feel better, but I want her to feel better too.
Yes.
We just want to take that pain away.
Yes.
So go on. So she's crying.
Right. So she's crying. And
what to do?
Right. Here's the thing. Your kid, and here's why it's not a good idea to go fix it. Because like, A, you can't. But B, even if you could fix it, then what happens when your kid has more disappointment in life, has more pain, has more rejection? This is when you're learning how to deal with it. Our job isn't to fix their social life. Our job is to teach them how to manage their emotions and how to act in line with their values. That is our job. So in that moment, we need to do this. We need to help our child regulate. We need to help them see that just because you were rejected doesn't mean you don't deserve to live or you don't deserve happiness or you're not worthy. So like, let me give you some counter examples, right? Let's say my daughter comes home and she says, you know, the girls all kick me out of the friend group because they say I'm fat and ugly, right? Now, if I say, I can't believe they called you fat and ugly, you know what we need to do? We need to get you on a diet. And we need to get those braces off. And we need to get highlights in your hair. What are we saying to our daughters? We're saying you are fat and ugly, and that matters.
And we can fix you. And I'm using the fix, right?
Yes. Yes. And you're not worthy. You're not worthy unless you're thin and pretty. And that is again, more intergenerational trauma, right? So like, that's a horrible thing to say. And it's so invalidating. And it's not what that child needs. They don't need to be prettier and thinner. They need to be told that they matter and they're worthy. So this is what you do. You start with,
and they're lovable just as they are. Sorry. Abby, go on.
Yes, exactly. Right. They need that. Otherwise, they're going to continue to outsource their worth for the rest of their life. And they'll be 50 and going through menopause and all of a sudden dealing with all this stuff that we never dealt with. Right. And so it's my personal mission in life is to help people hit that point of like self-assured self-possessiveness well before they're 50, right? So what do you say to that daughter in that moment? You start by naming their emotion, right? Oh my gosh, you know, the big three negative emotions, sadness, anger, and fear. So this is sad, right? Now you could say, oh my gosh, your heart must be so broken. That must hurt so badly. You're so sad. You feel rejected. You feel not worthy. You know, get a feelings wheel, you know, take a look at some words, like, and name them. And the more nuanced you get with the emotion, the more they'll respond. And you want to hit it with that same intensity. So if they're coming in at like a 7, like, oh my gosh, I'm horrible. I want to die. My whole life is over. And you come in at like a 0, you know, oh, you're fine. It's going to be fine. Yeah. So you make me friends. They're not going to feel hurt. They're going to be like, you don't get it. Boom. That's when they start pushing you away. And, you know, so many teenagers push their mothers away because we didn't respond well when they were younger. And so this is why that moment's so important. So you say, oh my gosh, you're so sad. You come in at like a 6 or a 5. Like, oh my gosh. Oh no, babe. That's so hard. So you validate their emotion by naming the emotion, and you could throw 3 becauses in it, right? You can be like, because you thought these girls were your friends and you thought that these friendships were real and now you're feeling, and because now you're feeling so isolated and alone and your heart just must be so, in so much pain. And you say that. That's step 1. Step 2 is you meet the emotional need, which is sadness, right? So the emotion of sadness, so the emotional need of sadness is consolation. So come here, baby, come here. And we hug them, because what do we do when we're sad? We take deep breaths in through our nose and out through our mouth to regulate, and we let it out, right? This is what we do when we're sad, but they don't know this. It's our job to teach them this.
And model it.
In that moment is when they learn through osmosis. We are neurobiologically connected to our children because we've raised them. Even if they weren't inside of us, we raised them. So they're connected to us. So if we hold them in that moment and take some deep breaths, then they will learn, when I'm sad and crying a lot, I need to take deep breaths. They just pick it up through the modeling. They pick it up.
Now, my episode with Dr. Emily Gordon was personal, but not at all unique to me. As moms, we are constantly making decisions and sometimes wondering if we made the right one. Dr. Emily helped me make peace with the decision I made to let my daughter quit dance. For any mom who's wondered if she's making the right choice, this episode is a must listen. I'm going to kick it off with the $1 million question, right?
Okay. I'm ready.
When do we let our kids quit?
When do we let our kids quit? Yeah, it's a really hard one, right? And I think the reason why it's so hard is that we put so much pressure on ourselves, as you were saying in your introduction, to make like the right decision. And we feel that it like our decision matters so much, you know, both for ourselves and our kids. I also want to kindly point out, I hope we can work with your example here.
I can take it.
I think we need to change the words that we use, because I think when we say, do I let my kid quit? Right. So quitting has a negative connotation. And so it feels like we're just sort of setting it up and teeing up the conversation into this, like we're either winning or losing, like we're like quitting, or we're like, as you say, sort of like, this is the hill I'm dying on. And I think it also it pushes us into this all or nothing, like it's like we have to stick with it or we have to quit, and that there's no room for some sort of other solution or compromise, which really misses out on just a lot of other possibility.
100%. And thank you. Yes, it has like, it's just ick. It just feels icky. Like I let myself down because I went against this, you know, like belief I had.
Yes.
Totally the word. I mean, this is where language matters so much. The word quitting, it does. It has this negative connotation. I don't think of any context where that has a positive one. And yeah, I just felt like I'd failed in some way because she quit. So we need to change the word. We need a new vocabulary word,
Yeah.
Dr. Emily. Tell me what we're doing.
So what would the alternative be? I mean, I think that like the alternative is just to step back and say, like, this is a decision that we have to make. Are we going to continue or not continue? Are we going to stay on this road, or are we going to take a turn? Right. And I think this is going to be the framework for our entire conversation, is that there is no right way, right turn. Sometimes we can't know the road ahead of time, right? We can't predict those bumps or the twists and turns. But if we've thought about why we're doing what we're doing, or why we're not going to do why we're going to do something different, that's what counts. So I think, like, again, when we say, do I quit or do I not quit, that kind of locks us in. But instead we want to step back and think about, what am I trying to accomplish here? What are the goals? What is the situation that I'm even in? Why am I even thinking about, like, in order to get to that point, to that question, there must have been something going on for your kid, for you, for your family, whether that was like, you know, tears or finances or time in the car, or just whatever it was that was sort of bringing up that question for you. We want to look at it and say, okay, like, what is going on, and what problem am I trying to solve? Sometimes we're not going to know if this is the right answer or the best decision in the moment, but we just have to have confidence that we're making a decision and this is the best we can do in the moment. That we are looking at the facts and the information and the circumstances that we are dealing with, and we are making the best decision that we can in this moment.
100%. I always like to tell myself there isn't a right decision.
Mm-hmm.
There's simply the right decision for me
Right now.
And right now. Ooh, we're out into it.
Right now.
Right now. 100%. Because even, you talked about values. And I think I love going back to my personal values through the years, because they shift depending on the season of life that I am in. Right. And so to be able to say, what do I value right now, and how can my actions and words align with that? And how can I make that, if it's a family value, my kids are a part of that.
Yeah. And that also, I don't know, as you're saying that, it also makes me think, we have to remember we're only human too. And you're right, that our values in the season of life, like, it changes. And so do our own emotional and like resources, right? Or financial resources or time resources. Like, sometimes we have the bandwidth to take on more, and sometimes we don't as parents. And like, that's okay. And our kids are going to be okay. But we just have to be honest.
Yeah. And graceful with ourselves and with our children.
Yeah. But you know what, Leslie, also, like, And I just got finished with a session with a teenager, and we were talking about something that was really hard for her. And she actually, she wanted to stop. She didn't like that, she wanted to stop. And a few weeks later, she can see that she stuck with it. And it ended up working in her favor. Right. And so I think like we have to, and you have this gift of like hindsight that, this was this really difficult moment with you and with your daughter and your family. And you did the best you could. And you know what? It worked out. Because I think so often we're so afraid, and we kind of get narrowed into thinking about all the possible negative consequences. But we have to step back and say, you know what? It's going to be okay.
I think that's a better family motto than we don't quit. It's all going to be okay, right? It's all going to work out. And it does. I think when we are in it, we sometimes forget that this whole parenting thing, it is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And with each mile and each stride, there's new opportunities and new roads that we can go on.
Absolutely.
I love my detour language now. So thank you for that. From tweens to 20-somethings, we covered it all this year. In this conversation with Heather Redisch from Adulting 101, we talked about the real-world skills our kids need now and how confidence is built through action, not avoidance. It's such an important reminder that small, uncomfortable moments today are what prepare our kids for independence, success, and self-confidence tomorrow. What are the most valuable skills that grads need to be successful? And we can say grads, but I mean, this starts younger, right? We can build up these skills in high school and into college. What are the most valuable skills and how can they be learned and developed?
Well, be comfortable being uncomfortable is literally the most valuable skill, period, end of statement. Authenticity and knowing who you are, and being able to communicate that, being able to express empathy. Empathy is going to become one of the most important skill sets in corporate America today as Gen Z takes over. I do believe communication and having personal contact with people, having conversations. If someone offers you for coffee, you take them up on coffee. Do not get on the phone to have the conversation. Anytime you can meet with people in person or if you are having any type of challenging conversation with a friend, take it off email and say, let's speak.
And I love what Heather said. We need to expect that to be uncomfortable. Like this isn't just like that will be uncomfortable, and that's okay. That's how we build up that muscle. I always come back to, and I do this with my 9-year-old. I make her order at restaurants. I make her order when we are somewhere. I make her talk to the person if we're in a store. We can build that foundation at such a young age. And I've been doing that for years. It is that, and it might seem small.
Yes. No, it's have them call the restaurant to make the reservation. Have them, my daughters like to get manicures sometimes. So I'll say, that's great. Make yourself an appointment. You have to call, you have to ask, because they just want to do everything online. It's so easy to make, reservations or order out online, but have those phone, as I would say, those landline conversations that you can't avoid. You need to get to something. You have to talk to people, and maybe make your doctor's appointment, call your dentist, all of those different types of phone calls that you want to avoid just because you don't want to deal, like those are the ones you should be doing.
And I hate to go then to the negative, but what are the common mistakes or the mistakes that you're seeing, new candidates make, and how can they avoid those missteps?
Avoiding. They're just avoiding. You're waiting for things to happen for you. They're not. Do not wait for the company to just get back to you. Do not wait for someone just to follow up with you. Do not expect anybody else to do the work that you should be doing. You have to be proactive. And again, that's about putting yourself in an uncomfortable position, following up, saying, I haven't heard from you, just trying to do a quick check-in to make sure that I'm still a candidate in this interview process. And then they'll get back to you. Or if they don't, then shame on the company for a terrible candidate experience. But again, and you're avoiding it because you don't want to be rejected.
And of course, all roads lead back to self-confidence over here, which is why I am closing out this episode and the year with Simone Knego. Simone is a fellow confidence coach, a speaker, and an author, and I absolutely loved the practical, grounded tools she shared for building real, sustainable self-confidence. This is about breaking the comparison cycle, changing how we talk to ourselves, and remembering that confidence is something we practice daily. You are a mom, a mom of many, who not only look to build their own self-confidence, but really more so to raise self-confident kids. What advice would you give those moms and the moms that are listening today to create their own confidence?
I think the starting point is really looking at your whole life. Like, what are you doing? What do you want your kids to take away from it? Right. And with my daughter, for example, I have 3 daughters, and obviously one told me not to be cringe. The other one texts me every 15 minutes from Cardiff, Wales. And the other one is the one I have the podcast with. The boys are a little bit different, but I want them to grow up to feel like they can do anything they want in the world. And that's what I want other women to feel as well, that you can step forward in whatever you want to do because you are capable, right? You're here for a reason. Everybody is unique. And, we have to stop the comparison game because you're never going to be somebody else. And to want their life is keeping you from moving forward in your own life. And that's something I also had to learn. I have a little mindset trick that I like to use that is called Control-Alt-Delete. Very creative, right? But back in the day, it was how you would reset your computers. It does something a little bit different. Now it pulls up some weird screen. I'm an Apple person, so I don't know exactly, but.
Oh my God. I must be like a very old school PC person because Control-Alt-Delete. I was like, yeah, this totally makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. And so it really is about, resetting your mind, because like what we talked about before, you're going to have doubts that come in your mind, right? It's human. That's what we do. We doubt ourselves every day. I mean, research, there's multiple studies, but the one that I like to quote is there's researchers in Canada found that we have 6,200 thoughts every day. 85% are repetitive, 95% are negative. Like, it's crazy how many negative thoughts that we have going through our minds every day. So we have to figure out how we can break the cycle. And that's where Control-Alt-Delete comes in. So I'm not saying that you can control the thoughts that come into your head, but once they come into your head, you can control what you do with them. So you can ask yourself, is this real? Am I making this up? Am I just trying to make myself feel bad? Like, for example, standing in front of the mirror and saying, oh, I can't believe you gained weight again. I can't believe you don't fit in your clothes. You're worthless. And we don't need to go there, right? So you have control. Then alt is about an alternative. Instead of saying you can't do something, how about I can do it? Or what if I fail? When I succeed? And again, there are so many studies out there that will show you, like true scientific studies, that the way we talk to ourselves really changes how we feel about ourselves. You build different neural pathways in your brain. I mean, it's fascinating science. So it's not just me saying woo-woo things that, oh, go talk to yourself in the mirror, because that's cool. But it's actual, it's real. It really works. And I can tell you from my life, it's really worked. And then the last part is delete. Delete the things that don't serve you. Delete the comparison game. Delete the belief that you're not enough, right? So in the moment, when you're having a thought come in and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this? Control-Alt-Delete. Like, understand that it's probably not real, right? That you're trying to make yourself feel bad. Change it. So if you're saying like, oh my gosh, I'll never be picked for president of this. Yes, I will. I have the skills. I've worked hard for this. I deserve it. And then delete. Doesn't matter what anybody else is saying, right? It's really focusing on what you want and how you can move forward.
If we were going to give our listeners a to-do list of if we want to instill confidence in ourselves and the next generation, here are my 1, 2, 3, like this you have to do, make it part of your morning routine, make it part of your life moving forward. And so tomorrow when they are out in their world, they're like, okay, I'm going to go through Simone's confidence protocol.
Okay. So first of all, whether you like it or not, positive affirmations. Tell yourself what you're capable of, right? When you see it with professional athletes. I mean, Simone Biles, for example, before she goes and does a big routine, she'll tell herself, you've got this. And she always says it in third person. And you see that with a lot of, so it's kind of like an outside person saying to you that you can do this. So tell yourself what you're capable of. And then secondly is be very aware of the words that you're using, right? Drop the just. Make sure that when you're talking about yourself, you're talking about yourself or to yourself like you would your best friend. Would you say this to your best friend? No, then do not say it to yourself, right? We need to be a lot kinder to ourselves. And the last thing is, I really love gratitudes. So like I do an evening gratitude where I can have the worst day but there's always something that I'm thankful for, right? It doesn't matter what it is. Like maybe yesterday it was because I got new nail polish on and I really liked it. But that in itself, like that makes me a little happy. So really reminding ourselves that we have good things going on in our lives, even when something seems huge and it seems miserable, there's a lot of good things happening. And to remind ourselves not to let that one thing overtake everything else. It's like when I used to take the kids on vacation and the last thing that happened was that they didn't have their flavor of ice cream at the ice cream store. And therefore the whole trip was ruined, right? We had an amazing trip. Oh my gosh, it was the worst trip ever. They didn't have my ice cream. Okay, no, we need to erase that. Think about all of the other good things. So those would be my top 3 things. And you just have to try things that work for you, right? I'm not going to tell you say exactly this thing every day because everybody's in a different situation, but it is the way you talk to yourself, right? I mean, just think about that. And I think it's Brene Brown who said, talk to yourself like you would your best friend.
Now, this feels like the perfect reminder as we wrap up 2025. Talk to yourself the way you would your best friend. In my coaching practice, I call this the bestie brain. And that bestie brain is available to all of us. It's one of the most powerful and accessible sources of self-confidence that we have. Thank you, my friends, so much for taking this trip down memory lane with me and for being part of another incredible year of Why Didn't They Tell Us? There are more lessons, more growth, and more conversations coming your way in the year ahead, and I cannot wait to share them with you. Until next time, my friends.
Love what you hear? Well, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me at confidencecoachforgirls.com. That's confidencecoachforgirls.com. Or email me at lesliethelifecoach@gmail.com. That's lesliethelifecoach@gmail.com. Hope to hear from you.